Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Grow Your Recruitment Business live show. We are live on both LinkedIn and Facebook. Thank you for joining me. As always, there is a slight delay between me going live on StreamYard and you guys being able to see and hear me on either Facebook or LinkedIn. So as you log on, if you can see and hear me, please do let me know by saying hello in the comments box. Please still give me a hello if you're watching on the replay later on, because it's always nice to know who has been here. So welcome along, everyone. As you log on, please do say hello in comments, that we know that you can see and hear me okay. And let me know why you're here. Today's topic is all about Facebook groups and using Facebook groups to nurture candidate and client relationships. So let me know what you'd like to learn today and say hello in comments. That would be fantastic. If you are over on Facebook, there are different data protection laws, so you do need to give StreamYard permission for me to see your name. If not, I can just see that you have commented, but I can't see who, so you might want to add your name afterwards in your comment. So as you come on, please do come on and say hello. If you're watching on the replay, there will be a couple of minutes while we wait for people to log on and we say hello before we start in with the content. So you might want to fast forward this bit. If not, if you're watching on live, then please do bear with us. So come on and say hello as you log on Facebook or LinkedIn, and let me know why you're here today. Let me know what you would like to learn today about Facebook groups, whether they could help you to grow your recruitment business. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to log on, say hello, let me know what you'd like to learn today, and then we will dive in. If you're watching on the replay, please do give me a hashtag replay and still say hello, as it's always nice to know who has been with us. So the topic for today's live is utilising free Facebook groups to nurture relationships with candidates and clients. So whilst we're waiting for everyone to log on, I want you to let me know in comments, have you ever thought of starting your own Facebook group? Or by all means, do you have one already? Or is Facebook something that you've always thought of as a more personal thing? Do you think of LinkedIn as business and Facebook as personal? Or have you thought of starting a Facebook group specifically to help your recruitment business? Let me know in comments. So let's dive into today's session. So this is a subject that some of you may have heard me speak about before. However, I really think it needs to be discussed again. And here's why. Because I spend all day, every day, talking to recruiters, talking to recruitment business owners, and every single one of them, without exception, has told me that their main challenge in 2022 is candidates. It's attracting candidates, it's getting exclusivity from candidates, it's getting candidates to turn up on the first day. Let me know if that's the same for you in comments. In your recruitment business, is one of your major challenges in 2022 attracting candidates and gaining exclusivity from them? If it is, then you're going to be really interested in today's topic, so let me know in chat. Now, I want you to think now about your ideal candidates, the people that you really, really want to attract for your vacancies and where they spend their time online. Let me know in the chat. So where are your ideal candidates spending their time online? For most of us, it'll be LinkedIn or Facebook. Now, in some industries, they'll also apply for jobs on job boards, but I know for a lot of us, a lot of the big job boards haven't performed well in such a candidate short market, so we're having to look at passive candidates. So firstly, let's look at LinkedIn as an alternative sourcing and nurturing tool to Facebook. So as you all know, I'm an absolutely huge fan of LinkedIn, but I see four main problems with LinkedIn in today's candidate market. Now, firstly, a lot of our free candidate finding tools have been taken away from us, and we can only access them via subscribing to LinkedIn Recruiter, which for some agencies, some sizes, is just too expensive. It doesn't necessarily work for you. Now, even if you do have LinkedIn Recruiter, we're reliant upon our ideal candidates opening and responding to our messages or seeing our content. So we're at LinkedIn's mercy a little bit. We also run the risk of keeping all our candidate relationships on one platform. And I know that you'll have all have heard the horror stories of recruiters being too active, too spammy on LinkedIn and being thrown off the platform, and therefore they're not having access to those relationships. So keeping all your eggs in one basket can be quite dangerous too to your business. And for some industries, your candidates won't necessarily be active on LinkedIn. So if we're thinking, things like construction or roles where people aren't sat on a computer all day, or roles indeed where you don't use LinkedIn as part of your everyday role, those people aren't going to be as active on LinkedIn, aren't necessarily going to reply to your messages and see your content. They're just not going to check it very often. It's not that they're not on there, but they're not particularly active. So here's where Facebook can step in. Now, there are some very, very big advantages before we dive into the main content of using Facebook. So Facebook pages and groups are entirely free tools that you can use to build relationships with your candidates. You don't have to pay for anything with a group on Facebook, touch wood as of yet. It's an entirely free tool. If your candidates are not active on LinkedIn, they may very well use Facebook every day. That may be where they're most active and where you can actually get in front of them. Now, if you were to get your access to LinkedIn limited, as I said, for any reason, you'd need another way of nurturing those relationships. And if you have them on Facebook already, they wouldn't be such a blind panic. And number 4, Facebook is a much more personal platform, and therefore it can be an easier and less salesy way to build relationships, especially with passive candidates who are perhaps getting headhunted all day, every day on LinkedIn. So in short, I absolutely believe that Facebook groups are a massively, massively underutilized tool for recruiters. I can't think for the life of me why more recruiters aren't using Facebook groups, other than they don't really know how to do it. They don't really know how to get started, and they don't really know how to build them. Let me know in the chat if that's you, if that's what's holding you back from starting your own Facebook group. Is it just that you don't really know how to do it? Because a lot of the time when we don't do things that we know could be good for our business, a lot of the time it's just that we don't know how to do it, isn't it? But the good news is, if your competitors are not using Facebook groups yet, and you start one soon or today, then they're going to represent a huge advantage to you in your recruitment business. Now, a Facebook group will absolutely work for you if your target audience spends time on the platform. So if your target audience is spending time on the platform, it will absolutely work. If they're not, it won't, and that's pretty self-explanatory. So think about how often your audience is using Facebook. Think about how often you go on Facebook. How often do you go on and check Facebook? Let me know in comments. And not just in the workday either. I bet a lot of you, I know I do, scroll in the evenings too. Am I right? So you might go and have a look at your lunch. You might respond to the odd notification during the day, but you're on there at night scrolling. So let me know in chat. So how is Facebook different to LinkedIn for helping to grow your recruitment business? Well, Facebook is all about building communities and nurturing audiences. So being part of a closed private Facebook group is very, very different to being connected to someone on LinkedIn. It's much more personal, and you will get to know your members on a much, much deeper level. Now, for anyone that is a member of LinkedIn groups or perhaps owns a LinkedIn group, LinkedIn groups, unfortunately, aren't very good these days. I used to be a big fan of LinkedIn groups. They used to work brilliantly if you own that group, because you could send out a weekly email to everyone in your group. And also, LinkedIn used to send notifications. Now, LinkedIn now doesn't notify people in a group when someone has posted in there, which means that they've just become basically an avenue for spam. There's lots of sales posts in there, but not a lot of conversations going on. So that's why LinkedIn groups for me don't work, but that's why Facebook groups do. If you have your settings set correctly in a Facebook group, you will get notified every time a post is in a Facebook group. You will get that particular notification. When something in your Facebook group goes onto your feed, you will see it. So there's a much more likelihood of you seeing content, and that's number 1. But number 2, it allows for actual conversations rather than just spam and sales. So it's very, very different. Have you shared things in Facebook groups? Let me know first of all, are you a member of Facebook groups? Are you part of some Facebook groups? If you are, let me know in the chat. If you are a member of Facebook groups, have you shared things in Facebook groups that you would have never shared on your LinkedIn feed? Or indeed, probably on your Facebook feed? I know that I certainly have. So we tend to see Facebook as a more personal thing. Therefore, we tend to use it differently. We have our guards down. We want to build relationships. It's a completely different platform. So at this point, you may be thinking, Lindsay, this sounds amazing, but what can a Facebook group really do for me and my business? Now, they can easily elevate you as the go-to expert in your industry just by being the person that has started and leads and hosts that group. They allow you to create an engaged community of potential candidates or clients, and they're absolutely free to use. So as a recruiter, you can use Facebook groups to create specific candidate pools in specific locations, to manage temps if you want a temps desk, or to nurture potential clients, or indeed to add additional revenue streams if you want to charge for things like career coaching, CV assessment, whatever it may be. So my question to you is, why do you not already have a Facebook group? And if you have a Facebook group that has no one in it, that's absolutely dead, let's do something about it. So let's give you an overview of my personal experience of Facebook groups, why we're having this conversation, why am I such a big advocate of Facebook groups and how they can work for your business. Well, I now have several Facebook groups, but my first Facebook group was the Female Recruiter. And I know that some of you are currently watching in the Female Recruiter live from inside that group. So thanks for joining me, ladies. Now, I started the Female Recruiter group back in 2019. And I learned as I went. I didn't have any formal training as to how to do that group. So what I did was I identified a gap in the market for a supportive community for women in recruitment. I found that a lot of groups at the time were male-dominated. They aren't now, but they were back then. Now, I went in with no expectations as to what my group was going to be. And it now has over 2,500 women in recruitment in there from all over the world, having daily brilliant discussions. Now, when I first started my coaching business, this group provided every single one of my leads. Every single one of my first clients, from my coaches, from my courses, came from my Facebook group. And a lot of them still do. But where did these people come from? I started a Facebook group from scratch. I didn't invite my friends because actually my friends that I had on Facebook at the time weren't suitable for being in my group. So where did they come from? Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, if I started a Facebook group, how am I going to get people in it? And this is how. Most of my founder members of the Female Recruiter group actually came from LinkedIn. There were people I wanted to be building relationships with on LinkedIn, but actually I realized that it wasn't the right platform for the sort of conversations I wanted to be having. So I picked the people I wanted to nurture on LinkedIn, and I actually invited them to come over and start talking to me on a deeper level in my Facebook group. I essentially moved them over from the platform where I had easy access to them to a different platform where I could nurture the relationships with them in a way that wasn't possible on LinkedIn. Now, whenever I have a first coffee meeting with any member of my Facebook group and I say, it's lovely to meet you, they always say, without exception, I feel as if I know you already. And how powerful is that? How powerful is it that everyone in a group, when you've got over 2,500 members, feels as if they know you personally? Imagine what level of relationship that could do for you and your recruitment business. And it works both ways because I feel as if I know my Facebook group members really well as well. And I actually count some of them as really good friends. I know their husbands and their kids' names. I know their struggles. I know personal things about them. And I've never, ever met them. Imagine having that level of connection with your potential candidates and clients. Facebook allows us to do that in a safe space where people can kind of have those conversations in a private group without everyone seeing it. But also allows us to do it on a scalable level. So there are over 2,500 members right now across the world in my Female Recruiter Facebook group. And 85% of those members visit the group every single day. 85% visit the group every day. And they're not just coming to see me, although I do tend to post in there every day. They're coming to see the other people in the community that I created. They're coming to get support from those people as well as from myself. So therefore, if you're working in a market right now where your ideal candidates and clients are not visiting LinkedIn that regularly, then why not build somewhere where they visit every day? You can get in front of them every day. They visit every day for people just like them. It's an absolute no-brainer to me. Now, you might not be a typical Facebook person who posts regularly on their personal profile. Neither am I. It's much more in my comfort zone to post on LinkedIn because it's more business related. If you go and look at my personal Facebook profile, It's really boring. I don't post anything in there. Occasionally people tag me in photos, but I like that element of privacy around my personal life. So you won't see me posting pictures of my dinner, and you don't need to be using Facebook like that in order to start a Facebook group. I love Facebook for the groups. I don't necessarily use it on a personal basis in terms of posting other stuff. So if that's you, then that's not a barrier to hold you back from starting a group. Facebook groups have been absolutely brilliant for me and my business, and they can be absolutely brilliant for you as well. So there's 4 main reasons why I totally recommend that you put some thought into starting your own Facebook group for your recruitment business right now. And firstly, and really importantly for most people's main challenges right now, it's to build a pool of engaged niche candidates. So a Facebook group is an absolutely perfect way to build an engaged pool of niche candidates. How amazing would it be to your business to have a group filled with niche candidates that know, like, and trust you and visit your group every single day? Believe me, that would give you a huge leg up on your competitors. You'd become more known in your market, you'd fill more jobs, you'd be more likely to gain exclusive representation from your candidates. And actually, having a Facebook group of ideal candidates can be a real digital asset in a BD situation. If you are a niche recruiter and you don't have particularly great client relationships because everything is candidate driven, actually having a group of ideal candidates that no one else has got, huge digital asset that you can use in a BD situation as well in order to gain exclusivity on your vacancies. Now, another reason why you really want to think about starting a Facebook group right now is that you can nurture an audience of existing candidates. For example, if you run a temps desk, having an engaged Facebook group of available temps will allow you to keep track of your temps really easy, to send out reminders about timesheets and job alerts. Super easy rather than you having to do things manually or send out emails or follow things up. It also allows you to grow your pool of temporary workers, as existing temps will tend to have a network of people like them, and they can actually invite those people to your group. So your members actually grow your group for you with people like them, as well as you specifically inviting people into that group. So they can be absolutely brilliant tool for temps desks and temps consultants as well. Another really big one that you want to start a Facebook group for is to build relationships with potential clients. So you may want to have different groups for niche candidates and maybe potential clients. So a lot of you won't be doing a lot of BD right now. It's really busy out there, but it will change at some point. And my worry for a lot of businesses is that if you stop doing BD altogether, when you finish making hay while the sun shines, you'll have a lot of ground to make up. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? We down tools because we're really busy with the jobs that we have, but we're not building other relationships in the background. So you could be using a Facebook group right now to build a group of potential client relationships. It can be a really great tool for gaining new clients if you get the tone right, and it would allow you to build relationships with potential clients by adding value rather than selling, whilst you're busy finding candidates for your jobs, because it works in the background whilst you're busy doing other stuff. Having your own Facebook group of potential clients would build your authority. You automatically stand out as the go-to expert just by being a leader of the group and via the content you share in the group and how you treat others in your groups. So potential clients get the opportunity to know, like, and trust you. Then it's an absolute no-brainer when they actually have a recruitment need to come to you. And you've got a much higher chance of gaining exclusivity on your vacancies as well, even with a brand new client, because they'll feel as if they know you on a much more personal level. So based upon what we've discussed so far, I would absolutely love to know, let me know in the chat, what could you start a Facebook group for? Have a think about it. If you're watching this right now and you're thinking, yes, Lindsay, I understand what you're talking about, what could you potentially start a Facebook group for now? Would it be niche candidates? Would it be for your temps desk? Would it be for potential clients? What is it that you're thinking you could potentially start a Facebook group for? Let me know in comments. If you're watching on the replay, please come and let me know as well. I'd absolutely love to know what you're thinking. Okay, so I know a lot of you are active on LinkedIn. So what can Facebook specifically do for you that LinkedIn and other platforms can't? Well, you're creating a community, and community is something that people crave, especially kind of pandemic, post-vaccine pandemic times. You're giving them the opportunity to become part of a community of people just like them. And like attracts like. If you attract the right people to your group and they enjoy being there, not only will they go there on a daily basis, they'll invite other people in their network that are ideal candidates and clients for you to be part of that group as well. People that maybe aren't on LinkedIn or you may not have come across in another way. As I said previously, people post things in a private group that they would never, ever post in a public forum. It's a very much more personal platform where people really let their guard down and you really get to know people on a different level. A Facebook group is absolutely amazing for market research. You can get to know your clients' pain points without even having to ask them, by just talking about, seeing what they're talking about in the group, by looking at the questions that they're asking, by looking at how they're interacting with the other members. Imagine the value in getting to know your ideal clients in that way without even having to ask them. It gives you something to talk to your candidates and clients about. It gives you something to put into your content because you know what their problems are. Rather than DMing them about a job or your services, you can send them something of value. So if you're at the point where you know exactly who you want to attract, you're sending them, you're putting out your content, you're sending them DMs on LinkedIn, but actually you feel as if you haven't really got anything else to say to continue that relationship, you can invite them to your Facebook group. You can invite them to something of value that you have built for them. And again, it sets you apart from your competitors as well. So as we've said, Facebook allows you to get to know your audience on a much, much deeper level. And you do so by adding genuine value, and that sets you apart from your competition. Facebook groups are not for selling. You don't go into start a Facebook group and start selling to people, start a hard sell. What you were doing instead is you're building a community of the right people. You're building relationships with them. Yes, you will tell them what you do. Yes, you will ask them if they're interested in your jobs, etc. But you give more than you take. You give more value. You're specifically adding value for them so they know, like, and trust you, so that they know if you come to them with something that maybe you want to sell them, or alternatively with a job that you think they might be interested in, they trust that it's a good opportunity for them because you know them. And that's a huge, huge thing. As I said, people just aren't doing it, which is bonkers. So it sets you apart from your competitors. And you get in that deeper level of personal relationship as well. You're leading with value, and your prospects really take notice of that. So your interactions with others in the group, as well as them, build up a picture of who you are. Someone that genuinely cares and wants to help rather than a typical recruiter. The other thing that is amazing about Facebook groups is that Facebook provides you with statistics of the people in your group once you get over 250 members, which is absolutely invaluable, and it's absolutely free. So Facebook will tell me when I go into the stats for my group, the gender of my members, their ages and age ranges, their locations, how often they come in the group, how often they post. It tells me the best time to post that most people are in the group, so they'll see it. It tells me my most popular posts, so I know that what people are interested in hearing about. It tells me who my top contributors are, so I know who the biggest fans in the group are, and the people that are more interested in what I have to say. That sort of data is absolutely gold, and it's absolutely free once you get your Facebook group to over 250 members. So, it's an absolutely amazing opportunity to get to know your audiences on a deeper level and to actually get to know all that stuff about them as well. So, obviously, the obvious question, how hard is it to actually start your own Facebook group? It's not. It's not hard at all. To be honest, it's relatively simple, which is why I can't believe that more people aren't doing it. The main thing that you need to do is really know who you want to attract and write content that speaks directly to them. You need to set a tone of supporting and not selling, and lead with value. And you need to be consistent. You can't set up a Facebook group and post once a month. You really, really need to be consistent in your efforts. You need to be showing up on a really regular basis. So you're building that relationship and people are really getting to know who you are. And really importantly, you do not need to be techie at all. It's absolutely easy when you know how I am. For those of you who know me well, I'm not a techie person. Yet I managed to do it, and I managed to do it without any guidance. So it's not a difficult thing to do as long as you know exactly who you want to attract and why, and put out content that speaks to them. Show up really, really regularly and be really consistent in your efforts as well. The other thing that you'll want to do is be really intentional with the name of your group, because you need to help people to find your group in Facebook searches. So once you've brought over your founding members, maybe from LinkedIn, Facebook actually does you a huge favor. Once your group starts growing and it sees that people are actually interested in it, that they're visiting it every day, Facebook starts suggesting it to other people. Facebook starts actually advertising your group for you absolutely for free, because Facebook thrives on community and it wants people to join your group. So for instance, my female recruiter group, people in other recruitment groups are suggested my group if they fit with the demographic. So, how powerful is that? It grows it for you. So I get at least 50 new members of my group every single week who are ideal potential clients and people for me that I can learn from. And actually, they come all by themselves. I don't have to work to get them because Facebook knows who I want in my group. So be intentional about what you call your group. Make sure that people can find it in the searches if they search for it. So you'll need to think about what sorts of words your ideal candidates or clients may search for in order to find your group as well. So who's thinking that I want to start my own group? Let me know in the comments. If you are thinking, do you know what, this sounds great, I'm going to go away and set my own group up, let me know. I'd absolutely love to know who's thinking about it. Now, I've helped lots of my coaching clients do this, and they've all been really successful. And it's become a really, really good thing for their business. The main thing is that they know exactly who they want to attract and they've put the work in. I'm not going to tell you it'll happen overnight. There's no magic bullet, as with anything when it comes to your marketing. You have to put the work in, you have to set it up, you have to attract the right people, and then you have to obviously have engagement in your group. But it is absolutely possible for you as well. So where do you go from here? Now, you want to really research your market and set up your group properly. Getting the right tone, attracting the right people, and having a content plan that automatically builds a relationship with your audience is absolutely key. Now, I'm going to move on to some Q&A in a moment. So if you've got any questions about anything that we've discussed today, about setting up your group, about names, about how it works, please do let me know in comments now. This is your opportunity to ask any questions you like. If you are watching on replay, please feel free to post your questions in comments and I will come back and I will answer them later. Now, if you do need any help with this, I do actually run a course on setting up your Facebook group and I support you to do it. So my next Setting Up Your Own Facebook Group to Nurture Candidates and Clients group course starts on Monday, the 4th of February. It's a week on Monday. It's a 6-week course and I teach you how to set up your group, attract your audience, write content that gets engagement, and grow your group as well to start contributing to your business goals. As with all my courses, it's bite-sized learning designed to fit around your busy day. So you will get certain types of content on different days and you will actually be able to go and consume that content whenever you like in your day. And there's always an associated task for implementation to do as well to make sure you're always moving forward and you're actually not just learning, but you're implementing what you learn as well. It's run via, you guessed it, a Facebook group. So it's a group course. You access all the trainings via the Facebook group. You share your work in there and you learn from me and you're inspired by other group members that are setting up their own groups as well. So if you're interested in booking yourself on your team on there, I'll bob a link in comments or you can DM me for more info. So I'll bob that link in now. If you guys have a question about setting up your own Facebook group, if you want to ask a question about anything that we've talked about so far today, let me know. I am getting some of the comments from LinkedIn, but not all of the comments from Facebook. So if you guys have asked a question and I have not answered it, if you can't see the things that are being posted, do not worry. I will go back into all the comments later and I will ask you your questions from there. Okay, so any questions, let me know. If not, I will come and ask them later on. Someone has said here, how niche do I need to be in setting up my group? I would say be quite niche. If you have a niche recruitment business, you want to really be quite specific about who you want to attract. So for instance, if you work with graduates and you know a lot of your graduates, you want to get in touch with the graduates that are graduating this year in terms of putting them with your clients, you will want to be starting a group for graduates, but you might want to hope to be called Marketing Graduates 2022, for instance. You might want to be quite specific about the people that you're attracting to it, and you really want to be quite specific about who you let into your group. If you have the right people in your group, it will be really successful. If you go for vanity numbers and have loads of people in your group, but they're the wrong people, it will obviously won't have the desired effect. Someone has asked, how do I know what to name my group? You'll need to do some research to begin with as to what groups already exist out there, because you don't want to be naming your group exactly the same as someone else's group, because I don't think they'll be very impressed. But you want to look at what's already out there in the market, and then ideally you want to name it for who you want to attract so that they will find it easily in the searches. So as with any marketing you do in terms of think about who you want to attract, and then think about what that person will be searching for. If that person, put yourself in their shoes, if they went to Facebook and they needed support from a group like yours, what would they search for in the search box? Someone else has asked, how big does my group need to be to work for my business? There is no right or wrong with this. You can actually have a lot of success with a relatively small group. And actually small groups work quite well because, say, 1,000 or less than 1,000 people, you can spend more time getting to know each person. But actually, you can start your group with 10 people, with 20, with 100. It really doesn't matter. Facebook groups grow over time. The important thing is that's the right people and you're building the right types of relationships with them. And as I said, your members grow your group for you. So if you've got 100 members, but you ask each of those members to invite one person in their network like them who may benefit from your group can double relatively quickly, and you can do that again and again and again. So there's no magic number. If you get to a real lot of people in your group, you'll need moderators and administrators and all those sorts of things. So actually, to begin with, a relatively small group can be the best way to go. Someone else has asked about content. Well, we're not really going into content today because content is a huge piece in itself, and it really will be quite specific to the people you want to attract in your group. Generally, as the leader of the group, you will want to be putting text posts in there. You'll want to be putting pictures and motivation in there. You'll probably want to be doing some Q&As, doing some Facebook Lives. There's lots of different ways that you can create content for your Facebook group. It doesn't all have to be on you either. You can invite people in your group to create content, and as a group grows, people naturally start creating content themselves. And you can also bring in other experts in your field to do lives and things like that as well. So it doesn't all have to be on you. So if you are not that confident when it comes to video and those sorts of things yet, do not worry. There is ways and means of doing these things and building your confidence up to the point where you are. So that's probably all the questions we've got so far. So if you have a question and you're watching on the replay, please do come back, put your question in comments, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you are thinking about setting up a Facebook group and you need some help, you may be interested in that course that starts on the 1st of Feb, either follow the link and book on, or send me a direct message and let me know, and I'll be happy to answer all of your questions. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I shall be back for the next episode of the Grow Your Recruitment Business show next Thursday from 12:30. See you then.